to the sky. I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Feel It, Heal It podcast, and we're on episode 6.
Maybe.
Episode 6, and I'm joined with Simbiggle, as she likes to call herself.
Yeah.
You're more or less like part of the furniture on this podcast at this point, aren't you?
I wouldn't go there with it, but yes.
She will continue. Once?
I said more than once.
Oh, I was about to say there's more than once.
Been on more than once.
She's been on more than once. She's been on pure times at this point, and you are just going to keep seeing her. So this episode is something that I have wanted to touch on for quite a while now, to be honest, but I haven't. It's a sensitive one, so I've wanted to make sure that the person that I was speaking to was comfortable and at ease as much as possible to touch and to go there with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about sexual abuse and the impact that it has on us as children and then as adults too. And we've literally just finished a womb healing ceremony. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's something that I offer on my website, which is basically like a guided ceremony where I lead us into connecting and healing our womb. So something that's come up in some of the work we've done before is your experience of sexual abuse, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to maybe just share a little bit about that, like how it came up, or because it was quite interesting with you, wasn't it? You hadn't remembered.
Yeah, so I didn't remember about being sexually abused or even classing anything as sexual abuse until, was it like last year or maybe late year before? And that is, 30 years old. 31.
And how old were you when it happened?
I have no idea. Probably still in primary school.
Okay. Like younger primary school or leaving?
Younger primary school.
Okay.
So yeah, my brain had just literally pushed it down, and I think was it at a womb healing ceremony?
It was Awakening the Divine Feminine, wasn't it?
I think it was Awakening Divine Feminine.
And there's a week where we touch on our sexual energy, our sexual abuse, like experiencing sexual abuse, and like shame around our sexual energy, around our femininity. It was that week that triggered it, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And until that point, I didn't have a clue. I think as well, because it wasn't like, first of all, I wasn't abused in that way. Like, it wasn't somebody doing it to me, it was more somebody getting me as a young person to do things to them. So I don't know if that was like, maybe it wasn't, do you know what I mean? Like there was, because it wasn't not that there's a typical way, but it wasn't a normal way. It allowed me to suppress it and not see it as abuse. And
because but when you say normal way, I get it, because how we're told sexual abuse happens is generally a man rapes a little girl, an older man rapes a little girl. Society doesn't really touch on even men being sexually molested. So I get it when you're saying it wasn't like your normal, typical experience of it.
Yeah. Because
I don't think society generalises that, and not generalises, but goes into all the different ways it can happen. So when as children, we can't really. It's quite dangerous because children won't think, oh, I've been sexually molested.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Definitely.
So sorry I interrupted you.
And I mean, the bit that I guess is more not typical but more known is the fact that it was someone that was a family member. So I guess that's a more common thing. Like people say that sexual abuse when you're a child, it's usually from someone that's close or a family member or something like that. And it's weird because when it came up, I thought, because we were both young, but that person was quite a bit older. Like she was still young, but still older.
How old was she?
I don't know. I can't even think.
If you look back at the age difference between years now, how many years older than you is she?
I have no idea. Like a fair few. I'm trying to think whereabouts in line. I honestly I don't know. But what made me, like, when it came up, I thought, did that person even know
that it was wrong?
That it was wrong because of how young we both were, and I don't know, and I don't know if they might look back now and think that was wrong, but I don't think at the time they even understood that it was wrong.
And how did it come back to you then? So you've got till 30 never being aware that this happened. So your brain, your mind had pushed it out as a way to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
How did it come up?
I can't even remember, but I just remember it might have been something that was said in the group that triggered and made me think, oh, wait a sec. Oh, yeah. But it was just... And I think I'm lying, actually. I feel like it came up before the group, but I just ignored it.
Okay.
And I feel like... I don't know. I'm trying to think when I had Reiki from you and the group timing, because I remember one time I was meant to, I think I still had Reiki, but I remember thinking it's gonna come up, like I don't know if I don't think I'm ready for this to come up in a Reiki session, but because it had recently came up, I thought, oh no, like we're gonna have Reiki and it's gonna come up, and I don't know how I feel about going there, and I don't think it did.
No, it didn't
until that I think that was when you became aware of it in the session, but it had come up before that.
It's funny because I remember feeling that in the session, but you had never told me, and I didn't bring it up to you in that way. And we've been friends for what now? How about 30? 21 years?
Something like that,
yeah. We've literally been friends for years. Yeah.
So
anything about Simone, generally I know, and anything about me, Sim generally knows.
True.
But when you remembered it, it wasn't something that you came straight away to me with, was it?
No.
Even in the line of work that I do, like you kept it to yourself for a bit, didn't you?
I did.
What was that about?
I think it was accepting it and calling it what it was. I think I struggled with being like, because I didn't want to see myself as a victim. And usually it's like, if you talk about sexual abuse and the person who's been abused, they're always like the victim. And I didn't want the sympathy and the, she's had that, let's go like, I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me. Or
why? What was it about that made you feel uncomfortable?
I think partly because even though now if I can see ways that it's affected me, I felt like, right, it just happened, innit? Like, it's not affected my life. I didn't even remember it. Like, it's had no... It was like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me because I didn't even remember. So it's not even touched me in that way. So it was like, more like a... I'm not that it's bad or anything, but I just thought, I'm not that person who's like, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't want that stereotype over me or anything. And it's so weird because we're in a time where it's a lot more spoken about and a lot more people are feeling comfortable speaking about it, but I still just didn't want. And it's not that I even look at other people like that, but I just thought the stereotype is like, oh, victim, and I thought, no, I'm not a victim.
Which, that doesn't surprise me, especially because of what we were speaking about on the last podcast, when we were talking about, like, you either become victim or perpetrator loosely, like, so that doesn't surprise me that you didn't want to fall into that category. And it's not that you look at people that have experienced that in that way, but it does come with stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much attached to somebody admitting I was sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it does come with sympathy, but I think that whole aspect of you not wanting to be that, it wasn't so much around the stigma, or that's very surface level to it. It was more the reality of, fuck, that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And how have I not known for 30 years?
Yeah.
How has my brain cancelled that out?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only now at 30 years of age that I'm remembering this fucking happened.
And it's a big thing to forget.
But that's why you forgot, because it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't forget. Your mind is very clever and does all sorts as to protect us.
Mm. And I think as well, it was a bit like, it scared me a bit in terms of like, what else have I just been like, didn't happen to me.
Don't like that.
Disconnect.
Put it away.
Yeah. And that's why I think, like, this is so off topic, and it sounds like I'm not trying to plug, guys, but this is why I think your work's so good.
I'm not trying to plug. She's my best friend, but
I think this is why I think what you're doing and working, energy work, is such a good thing, because there's countless times where I've been in rooms with people where they've opened up about their sexual abuse, or we've been speaking about sexual abuse, or I've seen a clip on TV, and it's never triggered me to remember that has happened to me until working with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's crazy, and it's also scary at what the mind can do, but it's also empowering that the mind can actually do things like that.
And if it can do that to protect you, imagine what it can do when we utilise it to its full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of creating the world, the dream life, the life that we want. So if it can completely cut out a whole experience, imagine the type of experiences it can create for us when we're coming from a balanced and aligned place.
True.
But so tell me a little bit, because we've kind of like screwed around it. What is it that actually happened?
So it was like just the person just asking me to do things, like feel certain areas and just things like that, really. That was more what it was. Never like done to me. It was more
you being made to do it to them. And it was a female?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you remember roughly how old? So it was younger, primary school?
Yeah. Well, it could have been, let me try and work out how old I may have been. So what, I'm 32 now. I think I was maybe 5.
Really?
Ish. If I was maybe about 5 ish. And what's mad is I don't really remember much of age 5.
Really?
No, I don't really remember much of my younger years like that. But if I were, as an estimate, I probably may have been about that age.
And how do you feel like it's played out into you as a woman now?
I think as a growing up, I always felt like I got on with guys more. I would more trust guys, and I never thought about why or what that was, but it's probably because I didn't trust girls. And because of what had happened, it made me cautious around females, and to open up to females, because I find it much easier to be vulnerable with a male than I do with a woman, and that's probably because subconsciously I feel like a woman would take advantage of the vulnerability.
And because they did. You were 5 years old. You were vulnerable. Your parents weren't around, so you were physically vulnerable, not just emotionally vulnerable. And at 5 years old, we are vulnerable, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And an older girl did take advantage of you. So even though your mind consciously didn't realise women will take advantage of me, other females are going to take advantage of me, your subconscious did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, you didn't trust girls or females or women.
Yeah, it is. But it's funny because I knew that I was allowed myself to be more vulnerable with guys than I did with girls, but I just never knew why. I just thought, I'll just get on with guys better, I'll just get on with guys, but there's obviously something underneath to why that is.
Fully.
Mm.
Can you see any other way it has?
I don't know, probably just the trust that I had with females. I don't know, never really thought about how it potentially, not that so this is, I don't even know if this is to do with this or not, but this is just coming in my head. It might be like I don't have shame around sex.
I was literally going to ask you.
But when I think about it, maybe not shame, but it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's more like, it's not shame, it's like I'm more not closed, but like, I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say.
So you're more closed off in what way? Sexually?
Yeah.
Is there like an embarrassment there?
Not an embarrassment. So this, the only thing I can think of is, so like, if I was back in the day, when I used to like,
used to be a bit wild.
I mean, when I was a little bit wild, I guess I was a little bit more free sexually with, I never even thought of this, I was a little bit more free sexually with, if I was seeing a guy, and like, but not in terms of what I was doing with them, just I was free sexually, so not necessarily I would do more freakier things with them, I was just free. Whereas,
what do you mean by free though?
Like, I don't know if I can tell you that without telling you the next bit, because I don't know how to tell you that. So like, what I mean is, like, I felt free, whereas with a partner, I felt, because, and I think it's because you're supposed to trust your partner, I was supposed to trust that person, I felt a little bit exposed.
Because it wasn't just sex and trust came into
play. Yeah, because there was more behind it to than just sex. So I felt like I couldn't be fully comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with somebody that there was no, not that I'd sleep with people that I don't trust, but do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I know what you mean. And look, we're all grown. We're all grown-ass fucking people, aren't we? We've all had fucking sex with people that we weren't in a relationship with.
That's what I'm trying
to say. And if you haven't, good for you. Or bad for you. I don't know. Live a little, innit? It's no judgment here. We're all grown. We've all had sex with people that we've not been with. So, with the people that there was no emotional attachment, and emotional attachment's often formed when we open ourselves up and trust people. There was you didn't feel like you had to be guarded, or you didn't feel as exposed, because trust didn't come into play when it was linked to your sexuality. But with a partner, it's deeper than sex, and so trust is involved in a relationship, and so that's why the reaction in you was to clam up a little bit. You didn't feel as free and as liberated, because in order to be sexual with this person that you're in a relationship with, you were required to be vulnerable and trust them, because it's a connection as opposed to, it's a deep connection as opposed to a sexual surface level connection. I fully get it.
Yeah.
Fully get that.
Yeah. I don't think I realised that until now, thinking about my past relationship and my past situationships. I can see the difference. And I feel like I can see now where in that relationship, when the trust started to really be there, I was more free sexually. Whereas when it wasn't there, even though I didn't feel like it wasn't, but looking back I can see that it wasn't there, because I can kind of see where, okay, this is where you became sexually free with this person.
Can you see as a child how it played out? Like in your interactions with your peers or your parents or your family?
Not really, no.
Was there ever a point where you didn't want to go to the place where it was happening?
Not that I remember.
And I guess you won't if you don't remember anything from being 5. And that's the scary part. No, you know what this scary part is this is so fucking common.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a one-off situation. It's so common, and it's so common for it to be family members, and it's so common for it to be older family members that do take advantage. And then it does come out as like, it does play out as a lot of the times the people who are abusing children have been abused themselves. And it's not to, I mean, we're not talking from a place of judgment, are we? So it's not to give anybody the go ahead to go, and I still don't agree with it. And I don't know how to say it without saying I'm saying like molestation's okay. But what I am saying is it's learnt behaviour, and 9 times out of 10 the people that are sexually molesting anyone but younger people, they've been sexually molested. And as a child, when you've been touched in that way, although something inside probably tells you this isn't right, you've learned that, okay, when I'm interacting with other children now, I'm going to do that because remember, this is what happened to me. And I think a lot of the times as kids, you're trying to make sense of what happened to you. And so often you're trying to make sense of it by playing it out with another child. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying like it's right. I would never say it's right. But it is learned behaviour. And I just think it's, what scares me is it's so common. Yeah.
It is, because you hear about it all the time, don't you?
And I think there's so many ways that being abused manifests. And I've spoken to a lot of women, especially in my sessions, who have said like, there's been times where they felt guilty for not reacting in a certain way, and there's been a lot of shame for allowing it to happen to them, and not screaming and not crying and not reacting in the way that we see in films. Because films, or the stories that we read, when somebody is overpowering us in that way, we narrow-mindedly expect our body to react as in like, get the fuck off me, and cry and scream. And a lot of women don't react in that way. They go the complete opposite, and they'll play along, or they'll freeze, or they'll just be okay with it. But deep down they're not. On the surface they're trying to be. And I think that comes back to haunt a lot of women as they get older, once they're trying to process it. Because it's like, and it's sad, but I do think a lot of women blame themselves for it, which is, I find that heartbreaking, because it shouldn't have happened to you, full stop. But a lot of women do start thinking like, well, why didn't I react like this? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And the brain, as you know, is this magnificent thing that you'll react in whatever way feels safest to you in that moment.
Yeah.
It's not about right or wrong.
It's true. Definitely. I mean, I think for me, it was, I didn't feel like, oh, I didn't blame myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, fortunately for me, if you want to say that, it was because of the age. So, because I was so young and they were still young. So, like, it didn't, I don't know. But then also, I think, I don't remember any conversation of like, don't say anything to anybody or blah blah blah. But clearly, the fact that you've not, whether there's been a conversation, because I genuinely don't know, like whether there was a conversation or not, there would have been some element that where I felt like I can't tell this to an adult because I didn't.
So there was that shame installed in you, whether or not that conversation happened, because I think maybe internally, you know, it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And we've had conversations before, and I remember you saying a rough age. So even though they were young, they were old enough to know better.
Yeah.
They were old enough to know better. So know better, like, in physically what they're doing. But whether they were just repeating what's happened to them is a different story. But like, they were old enough to know, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you know when you first remembered it, and not just the fleeting remembering when you kick it out your mind, but when you first like was like, fuck, that happened, and you sat with it and you began processing it, how did that play out? How did that feel?
It felt very, I think at first I felt a bit like I don't even know myself. And like I did feel very much like it made me question and doubt, and I don't know if anything else is going to come up in the future, but it just made me feel as if you don't even know you live in your body and you don't even know it, like you don't know how. And I felt a bit, even though in hindsight it was for protection, I felt a bit deceived by my own brain. Like, how are you gonna not make me remember something like that? I felt betrayed by my own brain. Yeah, because it kept it away from it, which for good reason, but you still kept it away. And I think that's where I felt powerless, as opposed to the situation more like not knowing that I'd been through something and accepting it, especially being the sort of bit I hate victim, like just personally how I feel about playing the victim. I'm not really the person to play the victim, am I? Like,
no. But that's also a lot of triggers from your earlier. That's a lot of thing that plays out from your earlier years that's made you never want to be in that position. Yeah.
So I think it was hard to accept being in a position of victim.
What did that stir for you? Being, if you tell people this story in society, I am now a victim. What did that stir for you?
It's scary. Even it's just scary, because even doing this is like, like, nobody knows. It's not something that I'm like, yeah, but like, I've not even spoken to my parents about it. I'm just praying they don't watch YouTube, to be honest. But it's, I just didn't. I think it makes me feel uncomfortable. I just don't want people to see me different, and I feel like it's a shame because people do, whether I want to or not, there will be people now that think that may see me a little bit different, or may, obviously everything that happens in life make you the person who you are, but it's gonna be, some people may think, oh well, maybe that's why she's this way, or, and as well it's a bit scary in the sense of, because this isn't something that I've shared with people, I'm quite a bubbly person, and it's like, well, you've been able to mask that, are you even happy now? Do you know what I mean? And it's a lot, really. And I guess that's why for me, it's not even that I am embarrassed or ashamed of what's happened to me. It's more, I don't want you to put me in a box now. And I think that's what's hard for me to accept, and that's what doesn't sit well with me, is being put in a box, because I'm so much more than that. And I think that's what, like, and even now I'm getting upset, but I'm like, don't get upset, because then people are gonna feel sorry for you, and it's just, it's a constant battle of, like, and it's hard because it's out of my control. What you think of me after this, I can't control. And it's a lot.
There's tissue over there. But do you know what, Sim? I think in you sitting here and speaking the way that you've just spoke there, and getting emotional and showing a side to you that the world very rarely fucking sees. There'll be people that watch this and be like, Simone,
she cries.
But do you know what? It will be the opposite. It will be the opposite to what is in your head. Do you know how the way that humans connect with vulnerability? The way people can connect with another human when they take the armour down and they say, this is what's happened to me, this is how I feel about what's happened to me, and this is where I'm at with that thing. The way another person can then connect and be like, that happened to me too, and even if that didn't happen to me, I feel you.
Yeah.
And whether I feel you or I don't feel you, if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
And it allows people to step up and stand up for you in a way that you've never been able to have them do before, because you only allow a select few of people to see you in this way. And the people that do love you to bits, and this wouldn't ever make them second guess or judge you in any way. But I think even the fact that all of this is going on in your mind, and all of these thoughts of, are people going to see me in this way or that way, and you've still had the courage to sit on this big ass fucking chair and look in that bastard camera, right, and tell your story in the way that you've just told your story, that's you taking your power back. That's you saying, yes, there's parts of me that are of a lower vibration, that are rooted in fear and care what other people think. Yes, we all have that. But it's the part of you that's sat in your fucking solar plexus, standing in your power and saying, regardless of what the world thinks, this is my story and I own it.
True.
And that's taking your fucking power back. That is taking your power back. And that's saying to the woman that did it to you, to the people that may judge you, if they do, I doubt that they will, and if they do, fuck them, send them to me. If they do, then whatever. That's you saying, I'm not allowing these fears, these aspects of self-loathing, or these elements of shame to hold me anymore.
Yeah.
Because this is my story. This was an experience that happened, and I'm now working through it.
Yeah. It's true.
What would you think if you saw a woman say that?
Good on you, girl.
Exactly.
It's true. It's true. I think, yeah. It's true.
For me personally, I think the way you've sat here and the courage you've had to sit and speak about something that is really difficult, and you've not told anybody. Like, who even knows about this apart from me?
I don't even think, maybe like one other person.
Do you know what I mean? For you to be able to sit here and say it in the way that you're saying it with such bravery, that's powerful. And do you know how many other women or men or whoever that have experienced this, that may come across this, and this story will help them? Your story will help them.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's feel it, fucking heal it.
Yeah, man. Feeling it on this.
You are. But I'm so proud of you for it, because this is so out of your comfort zone.
Oh. I know, I feel myself doing this.
The fuck that. Push it out. Say it with your chest.
Well, yeah, no, it is. It's a lot. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Didn't even expect to get emotional.
We have just done a womb healing ceremony, so we're quite like open emotionally and energetically.
True.
So just let it flow. Everything that's come up today is needed to. And I think this is another level of that healing journey around your sexual energy, sexual shame, around it all, around your womb. That leads me on actually to what has helped you to work through this and heal this.
Well, first, like accepting that it's something that's happened. There's nothing that I could have done, and that whether I've realised it or not, it's made a part of who I am. And I don't think I know fully how it's affected me. I feel like I've got bits and bobs, and I feel as if like source, God, whoever shows me little bits when I can handle it. I feel if it just threw everything at me, I don't even know if I'd be here right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's just accepting it and not judging it. But what's so crazy is I think what I still need to work through is not being bothered about somebody else judging it, because I don't judge it. But where that judgment doesn't come from me, it comes from what I perceive of other people's opinions, which really doesn't matter. But that's where it is. And just I think it's more accepting it and not it is what it is, but it's happened, and there's no
Being
point
okay
in
with
there's no point in, like, obviously I've been emotional, and I got emotional when it came up, and realising, oh my gosh, this has happened to me. But it doesn't mean that you have to sit in it. Just be okay with it. And when it comes up, let it come up.
Move through it.
And now that I've recognised, or I've remembered, I don't know how, that this has happened, but when things do come up, not pushing it away, just being like, okay, this has come up, where is this coming from? And now it allows me to, you know, when you're doing in life, when you're like, okay, something happens and you're like, alright, but why has this happened? now that I'm aware of it, I don't rule that out. Whereas there could be things in the past that have come up, and because I've ruled it out, I've not thought, well, this could be a result of because I was sexually abused. Whereas now, because I've accepted it, it's like, if things come up and it is related to being sexually abused, I'm able to accept it and work through other things as well.
And I think that aspect of like caring about what other people think, I think it would be good to do some work with your solar plexus around that, and maybe just sitting and looking like, are there other areas where I care what other people think? And because a lot of the times, in this situation, one of the reasons that you've remembered this could be to help you to look at, where do I value other people's opinions over my own? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that this could be one of the reasons this has been remembered for you, and amongst many, many others. But I think, yeah, this could be one of those reasons that it's like, okay, so I'm okay with it, I don't judge it, but I'm scared that other people are going to judge it. Where else do you feel like that in your life? And maybe just sit with it, journal on it, and do some solar plexus work.
That yellow.
Is there anything tangible that you've done that you could? So acceptance is a big one. Is there anything that? Yeah.
I don't know where you were going with it,
but you know what I mean, isn't it?
So, writing a letter.
Oh, go on.
I wrote a letter to the person, but I never sent it. But just to get rid of any anger or any negative feeling, or I didn't want to hold anything about that person inside. One, because it's like, it's not good for the person or myself. So I wrote a letter just saying basically like how I felt when I realised it had happened, that I didn't really blame them, and just letting go of the shame and this. And I think that's why I can be like, I don't feel any anger towards the person.
No,
I don't feel anger.
Nothing.
But I feel like that's the type of person I am as well. Like when it comes to things, I think once I've written it down and I've sat and I've thought about it and just let it all come out, and it as well.
And I was gonna say, what emotions did that letter bring up?
Just a lot of. And I remember a part writing, as much as I was like writing to them about. I remember a part writing. You did what you only did what you could. You were 5, like.
To you.
Yeah, writing that to me, and not feeling like you've not let yourself down. Because I don't know, like, not that I expect. I don't know what I expect to do at 5. What superhero I expected to be, but just it's all right. It's okay. It happened. It was a part of a darker part of your childhood, but you know, it just, I think it's a lot of accepting with me, and I'm the sort of person who I don't really cry often, and believe it or not, I don't really cry often, but when I feel that I'm getting emotional, it's sitting with it and allowing it to move through, because I personally don't think I would be able to get through things without going through that emotional part. So yeah, writing a letter really, really helped.
And did you burn it? Did you leave it in your notepad?
I don't recall burning it. I don't know when I'm going to find it or where it is or who's going to find it. but I don't think I don't know if I burnt it.
Do you know what might be a good idea for this evening or over the next couple of days? If you look for that and burn it and let it go, especially after we've done this womb healing ceremony today. You've touched on it in such like depth and vulnerability on the podcast. It feels final if you burn that today. And the fact that you hadn't burnt it already when you were already... So burning letter ceremonies, you were already aware of. We'd done a few of them, hadn't we? So I think it's quite significant that you hadn't burnt it yet. Is there anything that you would like to say to whoever's watching, maybe that's experienced this?
I think I would say, if I don't know, maybe if no feeling is not incorrect, but like feel what you feel, and it's fine to feel what you feel. There's nothing wrong with feeling like as much as I'm like I don't want people to judge me, blah blah blah. I don't judge that feeling. That's just how I feel. So and I'm fine with that. So I think it's just accepting how you feel in that moment and just think about why you feel that way as well. But you feel what you feel, and nobody can tell you that you shouldn't feel like that or you should feel like that. It's your feelings.
I just want to say thank you so much, like from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I'm proud of you, because this has took fucking guts. It's took courage, and it's just testament to your growth. Like, this time last year, there's not a hope in hell's chance this ever would have took place.
It's true.
Never. At all. And just to witness your growth, if we're just talking the last 12 months, that is power, Simone. And to be able to speak your truth so surely and confidently, and get emotional and not panic and back out of it, but to continue to talk and share your story, to me, that's admirable. Like, and I respect you and I love you so much for it.
Love you too, girl.
And she never says love you.
That's why I look down.
So that's big, you know. But yeah, I think in terms of anything that I want to say is basically just what Simone said. Sit with it. Don't judge it. Be kind with yourself. Being kind, I think, is the biggest thing. And seek assistance when maybe you can't get to the emotions that you maybe want to or you need to in order to heal. I think like therapy, counselling, retreats, Reiki, anything that will, any kind of, what's it called? Those things. You know what I mean? Anything. Anything that will create a safe space for you to be able to tease out and dig in a safe environment, because it's how you grow and it's how you heal and it's how you elevate, and the longer we're resistant, the longer we remain stuck. And life isn't about being stuck. It's about growing and elevating and having the courage to do it. So yeah. Thank you for joining me on the 6th episode of the Feel It, Heal It podcast. And Simone has shown us exactly what it is to feel it and fucking heal it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Click like. Share, do all them things there. Thanks.
Bye.